Minnesota down, way down, even though everything's a fight.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Rulli, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it.
Oh, that's gotta hurt!
Well, things seem to be getting worse in Minnesota. If Trump's immigration crackdown was sold as law and order, what do you call it when law enforcement officers are calling out your tactics? In the Twin Cities, something remarkable just happened. Local law enforcement leaders went public to raise concerns about how federal agents, ICE and Border Patrol, have been operating on the ground. No, not activists, not politicians, not Antifa or radical left agitators. Police chiefs and sheriffs. St. Paul Police Chief Axel Henry, Hennepin County Sheriff Donna Witt, and Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Briley all got in front of the camera in uniform and described a pattern where federal agents have been stopping and confronting people, including an off-duty law enforcement officer, and they've demanded proof of citizenship during these stops. They described how all of the people stopped were people of color, which Sheriff Witt described as, quote, concrete examples of profiling.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Rulli, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from any of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day. It has to stop.
This is the part where Trump's team would like to just wave it away as routine enforcement, except doesn't sound routine at all, does it? Even to those tasked with enforcing the law. And local leaders, they raised a basic practical problem here, right? Agents are covering their faces and not displaying identification, which makes accountability almost impossible. DHS have said it sent roughly 3,000 federal agents from ICE and Border Patrol to Minnesota as part of their Operation Metro Surge and claimed more than 3,000 arrests in 6 weeks. But it's hard to take them at their word, right? When the woman spearheading their operation reacts like this when she's presented with the facts contradicting the narrative that Kristi Noem and co. are spreading.
Sure, but you just said millions. What's the breakdown of the percentage of those who you have in custody who have actually committed a criminal offense versus just the civil infraction?
Every single individual has committed a crime, but 70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
You guys keep changing your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts, is that 70% of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what President Trump has charged them with.
Okay. Well, our reporting is that 47%, based on your agency's own numbers, 47% have criminal convictions against them. But let's talk about the other numbers.
Wrong again. Absolutely. We'll get you the correct numbers so you can use them in the future.
Well, that's from your agency. Let's talk.
Brian, 82% of people saw that video. 53% think that he should be criminally charged for it. And then the Wall Street Journal comes out and they're reporting that there are incentives for ICE agents because they need to meet that insane 3,000 people a day quota, that they're getting rewarded even if they bring in people who then get released. These stories of Americans being detained saying, show me your papers. There was a veteran, U.S. veteran, who was on a carnival cruise, a U.S. veteran on a carnival cruise with his wife who was taken out of his cabin, someone who served this.
What is the percentage? No percentage. Doing her math is hard.
Like ICE isn't making, I don't even know how many mistakes a day in pursuit of Stephen Miller's 3,000 a day quota and getting paid
Let's
for
give
it.
Greg a chance.
Local leaders have said that federal agents now outnumber local law enforcement and they don't give prior warning about their activities. So let's just step back and look at that, right? Trump's immigration enforcement push isn't just enhanced enforcement as they like to present it. It's a massive, overwhelming federal presence that even local police departments are describing as unpredictable, aggressive, and increasingly indiscriminate. So imagine what the people on the ground are facing here.
Follow up. Why are we seeing Americans being asked on the street to provide proof of citizenship in Minnesota? Is that targeted enforcement? And are you advising Americans to carry proof of citizenship?
In every situation, we're doing targeted enforcement. If we are on a target and doing an operation, there may be individuals surrounding that criminal that we may be asking who they are and why they're there and having them validate their identity. That's what we've always done, in asking people who they are so that we know who's in those surroundings. And if they are breaking our federal laws, we will detain them as well until we run that processing.
There's still a lot that we don't know at this time, but what I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors. We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another. Why are we put in this position? We're put in this position because we have approximately 600 police officers in Minneapolis, far fewer that are able to work at any given time.
And when local police are saying federal agents are, quote, sweeping up U.S. citizens and profiling people of color, the political and operational implications are explosive. It is coming from those who swore an oath to uphold law enforcement.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.